people upskilling their staff. That's the most important part. There's lots of people with new to the industry. There's lots of people who have been in the industry for a very long time, but things are always completely changing, aren't they? For me, it's really preventative. It's about identifying at the very beginning who is vulnerable, who they're coming in with, and using that real key power of hello. So it's going back to that old-fashioned customer service approach, isn't it? But it's a fantastic scheme where if someone's in an awkward position, they're getting attention, feel like they're being followed, or date's gone wrong, people know, actually, do you know what, I'm going to be looked after here. And it's really helped to promote businesses as well, because actually it helps bring more people and attract people into that business and organisation and go, actually, no, that's a safe environment, I'm going to go there and I'm going to keep going back.
Eren, thank you so much for joining us today here at Talking Hospitality. It's good to have you on board.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Who are you and what are you doing?
So who am I? So I'm Eren Bessim. I'm the head of training and development for Safer Business Network, who are a not-for-profit organisation. And my role is also to deliver training, but also to work in partnership with lots of organisations, businesses, hotels, hospitality industry, NHS, football clubs, to bring welfare training to all these types of industries, really. So where I come from, I was a police officer for quite a long time in Brixton. I left, moved up north to sunny Durham, and then I found myself, came into the training world through the private sector, and then found myself back training nationally, working with lots of different partners.
So what is safeguarding?
So safeguarding, there's two sides to it, really. I think there's always safeguarding is about how we put in the right policies and procedures in place to support customers coming into our premises, but also making sure that businesses are covering the law when they need to be. And then also there's the other side of it, is that actually people working in the hospitality industry are working in a safe environment. And that's really important, isn't it, as we've seen in this day and age and how things and roles have changed. It's not just about the hospitality, it's actually more of a welfare officer now, isn't it, as well? Which is difficult, especially as the industry as it is. There's so many laws changing, there's so many things coming into place, like Martin's Law, which is to do with the Manchester Arena bombings. Then there's a sexual harassment law changes. So businesses are having to, and organisations, especially the hospitality, are having to keep up and understand what they need to be doing.
I was just wondering if you could talk through maybe a couple of examples that employers should be thinking about when it comes to looking after people.
Yeah, a lot of this is to do with prevention, isn't it? And people upskilling their staff. That's the most important part, is that the first people, and as we know, it's a transient community, isn't it? There's lots of people with new to the industry, but there's people, Tim, like we spoke at your hotel, there's lots of people who have been in the industry for a very long time, but things are always completely changing, aren't they? So for me, it's really preventative. It's about identifying at the very beginning who is vulnerable, what looks vulnerable, who they're coming in with, and actually really putting some real great interventions and using that real key power of hello, those back in the day when everybody said hello to each other. And I think I always use it in my training. I live up north and everybody's I can't even walk the dog because you speak to so many people along the way. But it makes you feel warm and safe, doesn't it? Because it makes you create a great community, but no different to actually any organisation. So it's going back to that old fashioned customer service approach, isn't it? It's actually when a part of our engage, I'm putting that prevention in, because I'm starting to think about that person, how they're going to behave, who they are as a person, how far I can engage with that person as well.
So yes, to ask for Angela, some people have heard about it, some people haven't, but most of us might have seen the sign on a bar somewhere. What is that and what's its purpose?
So Shall I give you where it originally started from? Because I think that's really important. And Angela was actually a real person. Unfortunately, she was in a real coercive, domestic abusive relationship. She went out to bars, she went to shopping, but because that relationship was so coercive, she was never able to be able to reach help or be signposted. So unfortunately, it got to a point where Angela was murdered by a partner, and Inspector Hayley Crawford from Lincolnshire Police actually produced that program. So that program is absolutely fantastic. It's very reactive, obviously, because, and I'll come into WAVE in a bit, WAVE, Welfare and Vulnerability Engagement, is about being proactive, but the Ask for Angela is reactive. So, but it's a fantastic scheme where if someone's in an awkward position, or they're getting unwanted attention, feel like they're being followed, or a date's gone wrong, they can go up to the bar or go up to somebody and ask for Angela, either discreet or loudly. And when we train premises, especially specifically the hospitality, that means that person puts a process in place to support that person to seek what happens. Really, really good, actually. It's really, 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 really powerful, because we've actually started to implement it just further than that into gyms as well. And we're starting to see it into football clubs. So, and we are starting to see those behavioural, because if you go onto TikTok and things like that, you're seeing lads on there and going on saying, oh, if you go out, you don't want to get Angela'd. So they're already, that perception, they're already starting to think about their behaviours about it. Wow. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Because you don't want the negative, but actually in a positive way, they're already starting to think about it.
Yeah, but that's what it's about, isn't it? It's calling out bad behaviour on with a megaphone. Because you shoot people's heads and you're making people stop and think and reflect on their own behaviour. Anything that does that is a good thing. Right.
Absolutely. And calling it out, that's where we need to be. We need to be those active bystanders, upstanders, because if we don't call it out, it's just going to continue. I'm sure most of us have been in groups of friends and we thought about, oh, why are you saying that? That's really a bit awkward. Or if we see something on the tube or the train, or we're out and about, we're like, oh, mate, please, you're taking it a little bit step far.
What's the phrase? Anything necessary for evil to prevail is, I think the phrase is for good men to do that, but it should be good people. But yeah, the only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we work with some really great organisations like White Ribbon is about allyship and having men being part of that conversation. Because I was at the Labour Party conference this week talking with White Ribbon actually, and it's talk about the Labour Party really want to tackle violence against women and girls by 50%. Which is a huge task, but this is where working with a hospitality industry, it's going to be really effective, because the more you're empowering people, and that's what it is, isn't it? It's empowering people to do the right thing, and there's different cultures within the hospitality industry. So again, that's really having to upskill, understand what the laws are, what we can and can't do, but also what support's out there.
The festivals that I work at, that I'm involved in with their hospitality operations, really proud to say all of their bars are all aspirational bars, and in the management briefings that we do, it's always explained to the managers, and it's always a point of call that they have to do with you might have 500 staff coming on site in a day, and they might not all be there the next day, and part of the brief for everybody is, this is what Ask for Angela means. It's checked by operations that the signage is available. So, and festivals are an incredibly chaotic environment naturally. So just to have that there in a field, it must give a huge amount of confidence. And yeah, I think it's a brilliant initiative.
Yeah, well, there's so much vulnerability. But the ultimate, everyone wants to have a good time, and that's what it is. But when you start getting intoxicated, everybody gets a little bit excited, don't they? Or they start thinking of things or doing things which they would never probably maybe not naturally do. But festivals, yeah, actually we're really working close. Like next year, we're going to have a massive gear up with festivals, which is really, really important. We started this year, but some of the work we've been doing is 100%, a huge mass of people in one location. There's sort of, obviously they've got to meet their licensing objectives, but obviously they just want to make it fun for everybody. That's the ultimate goal. Everybody wants to go and have a good time, don't they? But we need to make sure we're doing it in a safe environment.
No, that's what I'm saying. That these initiatives, they're not being the fun police.
No,
It's the opposite of that. It's ensuring that fun can happen because you can relax. Because it's a safe
absolutely.
environment.
And yeah, and say that we do lots of work with freshers, and because this obviously freshers is here at the moment, freshers just started, and we always survey freshers, but everybody else we train, and they say that they would rather go to premises where they've had some sort of training around welfare and vulnerability engagement, or they've implemented an Ask for Angela scheme, because people know actually, oh, I'm going to be looked after here, and it's really helped to promote businesses as well, because actually it helps bring more people and it attracts more people into that business and organisation to go, that's a safe environment, I'm going to go there and I'm going to keep going back because it's friendly, people are engaging, and they have all these initiatives in place.
For our international listeners, freshers are people who've just started university. So obviously, Ask for Angela is very reactive. It's like there's somebody's presenting with an issue and then it's responding to that and trying to protect that person. I think from a business point of view, and some of our listeners might be interested, how can we be proactive, like more preventative? So could you give us some advice on that perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is where our WAVE program, so WAVE stands for Welfare and Vulnerability Engagement, and it's all about understanding where vulnerability comes from. So what's the start? So again, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, didn't we? Intoxication, it could be drugs, it could be someone with a disability or a hidden disability, it could be equality and diversity, and there's a number of factors that may cause an issue. We've seen it recently, haven't we, with in London and surrounding the UK, where we had some riots, didn't we, where actually that really impacted the community. God, we saw that they were bashing in Greggs, for goodness sake, but that would impact those staff members and make them feel vulnerable. And also, if there's customers in there, now that increases that vulnerability. And then it's about actually understanding where it comes from. What can they do? So it could be maybe it might be ID checking. It could be not over serving. If someone's too intoxicated or more, maybe helping them out with a glass of water, or actually giving them some food, etc. And just really engage with them to see what level they're at. But it could be also, just as I talked about hidden disabilities there, you see in the hidden disability scheme, the sunflower scheme, is that actually, how you doing? How's things? I see you've got a hidden disability on. How can I help you out? Because actually what it does, it makes that person feel safe again, doesn't it? It goes back to that, actually, this is a great environment. They're really trying to support me. So it is about, and as we said, with the hospitality industry, there's so many different cultures, there's so many different skills levels, and this is really grassroots. It's actually, let's go from the basics. Let's understand, give people the confidence, the skills and the knowledge of what they need to do. Because also some people in the UK, we have those licensing objectives. Not all staff are aware of that. They're not all license holders, are they? They're going to be, oh, actually, I didn't know I have to play a part in that. It could also be being first aid trained or mental health first trained. Again, another skill adding to their value, but also, again, I think it helps them professionally and personally, because their skills are adaptable with their own life as well, not just at work.
Yeah, I mean, we're totally, I mean, we're in what we're doing at the moment is following the WAVE training that you gave us in the hotel. Is we are now looking at mental health support and how can we embed that within the whole of the organisation, which is a spin-off of the work that you did for us. So now we're going to be working with Kelly's Cause, because they're an organisation with similar idea.
Fantastic, yeah.
And where, unfortunately, somebody committed suicide. And so we're bringing them in, and we just sat down with them and say, okay, it's all very well as training, but how does that become a whole part of a long-term strategy? It's going to take a year to embed that change, and we have to be prepared to do it. You can't do a training course and say, well, thanks very much, everybody. Now you're all trained, because people leave, right? Yeah, Joe's laughing because what? And it's really important because we actually don't want people to leave, right? So part of that reason is we need to make them feel safe. And I think this is what a lot of employers miss, right? Is that, the training's for the customer. And so it's almost like, well, it might not happen on our watch. What they're actually not thinking about is the benefit that the team get from knowing what to do in that situation. But of course, what if it happens to them? We're also protecting them. And I think this is why this work is so important. We cannot forget that every person that comes to Joy's got their own problems. We have 350 people. We've got another hotel across the road, 50 people. Like, each one has their own set of problems and issues, and they have their own set of experiences. And this training is crucial for them, let alone all the people that come through a door.
Absolutely, because we all get vulnerable in our own daily lives, don't we? Whether at work, traveling, things going on at home, and that's the fact of life. That's what happens. And it has that massive personal effect as well. And I'll give you some really good examples, actually. So it was actually last Saturday, someone emailed me. They work in a shopping centre out of London. They were doing their patrols, been on the wave training. They spotted a guy who was talking to himself. He was pacing up and down. Went into the shopping centre, went up to the top floor, and there was potential that he was going to try and commit suicide. Again, just some trigger warnings, just obviously because we're talking about this subject. Because he emailed me, the guy, and he emailed said, I would never have followed him or recognised it if I hadn't been on that training, because what I'd done is I followed him, went up to the top, used that power of hello, engaged with a person, talked him down, and got the support he needed. And they're real life examples. And again, that doesn't have to be at work. That could be just out and about, and we see that taking place because everybody suffers. There's potential of people's state of mind, mental health, and the impact of it. Another example, someone last week, a venue, they've been on wave training. There's two females who are quite upset in the venue. They came up to staff, they said, we think this guy's just spiked our drink. Detained the male, supported the victims, reviewed the CCTV, secured the drink and the evidence, and they watched the CCTV, he put drugs into their drink. And that's how impactful it is, because it actually really makes a difference. So, and they're really good things. And again, it goes that thing, if people are going out and about, they want to feel safe. So actually watching their drinks and making them aware.
Can I ask, Eren, have you got advice for like hospitality operators now who, let's say they've got something in place, they might have done a one-off training with the team, but as we know, repetition gets results, right? And it's not a case of, we might have had half the team leave, we might have had half the team come back, and we haven't done that refresher training. Are there any bits of advice that you could give to operators of how to embed this into their culture, so it's not a sporadic thing, it's much more of a sort of a daily practice almost?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And I think there's a key word you said there. It's making those cultural changes, isn't it? Because as Tim, you touched on, it's not going to be just a 1 year or a 2 year project. Actually, it's forever training. I think the first point of call when you're inducting someone, actually take them through that training, review it every 3 months, try those scenarios. With Martin's Law coming out, that will be actually a lot of scenario based. So organisations will have to practice if there was a terrorism incident. Likewise, the spiking legislation is changing. So what they really need to do is start updating their policies and procedures, but also get that person at the very beginning, because you can't set those standing operating procedures 3 months later, because that person's not learning, are they? Actually, if we get them from the very beginning and we take them through that journey, they start 6 months later, refresh, or team meetings or debriefs, and actually you're continuously just using those key words and actually going through those standing operating procedures of what we should do. And then actually it becomes part of day-to-day business, because you're continuously talking about it, you're continuously refreshing people, you're continuously adding mental health or first aid training, and also that person feels a bit more valued because actually you're utilising their skills.
So what is Martin's Law? If someone's listened to this, because you mentioned it a couple of times.
So Martin's Laws come from the unfortunate Manchester Arena terrorism incident there, the bombings, and Vegan Murray, who unfortunately lost someone, has really worked to change legislation and how organisations and businesses change how they work. I can't say too much because it hasn't completely signed off, but what all businesses will need to do is make sure they've got procedures in place in an eventuality. So again, it's like linking it back to that vulnerability, isn't it? So like Joe just said, it's got actually from the very beginning, let's start upskilling someone as soon as they walk through the door, not 3 months later, because actually they might have seen some bad working practices.
Right. Okay. Eren, obviously this is quite an important topic. So where can people go to find out more and maybe get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can go to safebusinesstraining.org.uk or email training@safebusiness.org.uk. Find me on LinkedIn to reach out, and they can find us on there. We've got all types of accessibility. So we've got e-learning, in-house training if you want to bespoke it, virtual. So there's, as we said, the industries with that transit community, we've got to make it really accessible for everybody.
A huge thank you to our brand partners Graphic Kitchen and Leisure Jobs for their continued support of Talking Hospitality. Graphic Kitchen bring creative storytelling to life, helping hospitality brands stand out in a crowded market. Leisure Jobs connects top talent with best opportunities in the industry, making it the go-to platform for hospitality careers. We're proud to have them both on board.